I can see no way, I can see no way. And all of the ghouls come out to play.
There is no miracle here, just a girl with dreams.
Hi, I'm Amanda.
I'm Deryn.
And I'm Coco from the Santa Barbara Middle School Teen Press, here with
Alex Dionne. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
So, what inspired you to be a part of the Girl Rising team?
It is, it's not very often that you get a project that comes your way that makes so much sense. Girls' education makes absolute sense across the board. And as a documentarian producer, you don't get that many options to work on something that's just so gratifying. So I got the opportunity and I went for it.
How has your own education empowered you as a woman and a human being?
My own education, I think I'm a UCSB grad, but my mom was a reporter and a writer, and education was always very important. But I think when you're in it, when you're going through it and you're in elementary school and you go into junior high, you take it for granted. You just think, of course I'm going to go to school. Like, what else am I going to do? Clean my house, So I think you don't quite realize how amazing it is until you understand that there are other people who don't have it. And, I think going away to school, you figure out who you are and you become independent and what you have to take care of yourself. So I think, and coming to UCSB was just awesome. It was so great. But I hope that answered the question.
Yeah.
You have 2 children. How has this movie changed the way you're educating them?
Well, it's funny. I don't know if you've ever heard this expression, but there are kids in Ethiopia who don't get food. This is like an old expression that old people say, like when you don't finish the food on your plate. There are starving kids in Ethiopia. But now, having been to Ethiopia 3 times, I can actually say to my children, don't complain about going to school because there are kids in Ethiopia who desperately want to go to school and they can't. And I know firsthand. And it's not just some random little saying that you say when you're old,
Finish the food on your plate.
Exactly. There are kids starving. What am I going to send it to them? That's a silly thing to say. But I can say that, I have actually really, my daughter's 5 and my son is 8, but they have watched part of the film and they really get it. And I've shown them pictures that I've taken and little 3 to 5 minute pieces that I've made about different girls, and they understand that there are kids who don't get to go to school. So.
We interviewed the Academy Award-winning filmmaker of the Comb, Louis Sahoyas, and he said films were weapons of mass construction. In what special ways do you believe that films move people?
Well, I think, in our society where we are right now, we are constantly, YouTube and looking at Instagram or Vine or, we're just constantly consuming media. And so I feel like it's an incredible tool to challenge people. And if it's done well, it's not something that somebody's just going to tune out and just I don't care, this is just another thing. But if it's done well and you can capture somebody, which I hope we do with Girl Rising, where they have, folks, you see their actual story. You see a real girl's story. And you're really captivated. You're like, God, that's a real person and she's really struggling and yet she has hope. And so I feel like if people can see that, for real, film, video, it's a huge tool.
What is a film, either when you've watched or when you've made, that has made a difference in your own life?
Well, golly, gosh, there's so many. In terms of just beauty, a beauty film, there's a film that I love that no one ever knows. It's called The Big Blue, and it's just a sweet, perfect film. And I just remember just visually just feeling, the story is it's okay, but visually, it's just so gorgeous, and I remember just being really drawn to the beauty You know, in terms of like a film that, gosh, there's so many, like, you know, documentary wise, like I came from historical documentaries, so like Civil War documentaries and jazz. It was a big series about jazz, and I worked on a film about Abraham and Mary Lincoln. If there's a way to talk about history in a different way, the film I worked on about Abraham Lincoln, we talked a lot about his wife, which was new for me. I didn't know anything about his wife, and so those films have really changed me. But like recent films, like, I don't know, I love the film The Master. I don't know if you ever saw it, but it's a really intense, beautiful film. I just like beautiful, stunning, character-driven films.
Okay.
While in Ethiopia for Girl Rising, you directed and shot with a woman there named Milka, who had been the victim of early marriage. We read that you are proud that Milka's story is being heard and she has become poster bride for many organizations. What is the most important lesson Milka taught you?
You know, that you can come back from something like really horrible and fight back to the point where you have hope again, and where you're like, you can kind of heal and heal by helping other people. And I think that really does make a difference. I think when you can sort of reach out and say, okay, what happened to me was horrible, but you know what, I can still help other people, and that's actually going to make me feel better and heal me. So she gave me hope, really.
What is the most important lesson she can teach me?
I think that she can teach you that you know, here's a girl who had to drop out of school when she was very young, and was married off very young and had this whole crazy experience, and then, you know, she's no longer married, but she's teaching other girls what their rights are. I think that if you can educate yourself in as much as if you have passion for something or if you feel strongly about something, you don't have to have a PhD to like change minds and hearts. You know, like you can go out there and say, no, like I know this to be true and right, and I can talk to you about it, and I can try to help folks understand that. Like you don't have to be the president or a professor or something. You can be you and affect change.
And what is the most important lesson she can teach the world?
I think the very fact that she can her story can raise awareness about this issue, and that it's not okay, you know, for girls to be married off, you know, some as young as 9. It's not okay, and it doesn't make sense, you know, biologically for them, or for their family, for their community, for their country. And I think just getting that across, like early marriage does not serve anyone.
Ethiopia made a law, I forget in what year, that women can't marry before the age of 18. Mm-hmm. How is that law enforced?
That is tricky. We found that, you know, in the big city, you know, Addis Ababa, like it doesn't happen as much in the bigger cities. It's in the rural communities, like way out. Like we had to walk to this one girl's house, not on a main road, like 45 minutes to get to basically her farm. And, you know, when they're kind of out there, they're kind of just following their cultural norms that they've been following for hundreds of years. And so what we found was the local organizations or offshoots of like World Vision, for example, has outposts in these rural areas. They were the ones that were going out into the community and trying to teach them about these different laws. And they were the ones who would find out, like someone would come to them and say, you know, this one boy said, you know, told us about how he found out that his parents were trying to marry off his younger sister. And he went and told the folks that he knew from World Vision, and then they told the local authorities, and then they get other people involved, and then they go out to talk to the family and say, you know, this is against the law, you could go to jail. And they'll say, okay, we won't do it. But then they have these secret weddings, and but he knows, you know, and the girls are too scared to say anything. But we found that the local non-governmental organizations were the ones that were helping to enforce the law.